Frostpunk 2. Is it worth a buy? Let's read the words of the developer. Develop, expand and advance your city in a society survival game set 30 years after an apocalyptic blizzard ravaged Earth. In Frostpunk 2 you face not only the perils of never-ending winter, but also the powerful factions that watch your every step inside the council hall. First up guys, a quick look at the graphicals. Now there's a few things to twiddle and tweak to get the best out of your rig. I'm running a 2080 i9 and it ran fine. I mean, it was a bit more, you could tell that it takes a bit more out of your system than the first Frostpunk did. It was running a bit worse, but I didn't have any problems running it, none at all. So yeah, it just works. Graphically as well, it looks great. I mean, it looks better than the first one. All the lighting and everything, the way it just looks really, really nice. Now, the first Frostpunk, I absolutely loved it. It was just, I wasn't prepared for the first Frostpunk when it came along. I didn't realise what the game was till I started to play it. I hadn't really read much into it, and it just blew me away. The whole story, the whole presentation of the game, from the opening cinematics, which were just outstanding, to the actual gameplay, you really felt attached to your people, that you had to really protect them, and you wanted to just build that city around your huge generator. Well, your what do you call it? The big heaty thing in the middle. So yeah, I've been very stoked. I hate that word, but I've been very excited for Frostpunk 2, and the developers give me a key. I'm very, very grateful for that. But here's the thing: I was expecting Frostpunk 2 and I got a completely different game to Frostpunk. Yes, visually it looks very similar in the sense you've got your huge heater that you have to fuel and keep everybody warm with, but everything else is different. I mean, pretty much everything else. You are on a much grander scale than you were in Frostpunk. Way more people to look after, and I can't help but feel that Frostpunk has lost its soul with 2. I just found that I didn't give a shit about these people in Frostpunk 2. I couldn't get into it. I just could not get immersed in the game the way I got immersed in the first. I didn't care enough. Oh, there's 100 people died. So what? I don't care. I literally didn't care. When I was passing laws and things, I wasn't that bothered. You know, it was just... It just lost its sparkle for me. You see, what I loved about Frostpunk, the first one, was sending your people out for materials. It just looked treacherous. You would see this like line of people just cutting through the snow to get to the stockpile of coal or the stockpile of wood, and you would just see them tunneling through, and you could just kind of imagine they're going out there, they're freezing cold, they have to make it to that ore pile, and they've got to bring that ore back, because if they don't, they're going to die. And you got really attached to everybody and everything that you did. You had to build the homes really close in, tight around the heater, just to generate the warmth to keep them alive, and you had to plan your city out, and you built roads interconnecting everything. And you saw the people all over the place doing. There's none of that in this. There's literally, I mean, sure, you have to build as close as you can to the core, but essentially you build districts in this. You see a stockpile of something that you want to extract, so you just build an extraction district on top of that, and you don't even have to send people out to do it. You just have this like frost breaker thing, and you just click 6 or 8 squares around where you want the frost to be broken, and these machines just pop out of nowhere. They just appear on the map, and they just kind of wander around aimlessly, and then hey presto, you've broke all the ice around that, and you now build the district. It's... what? Really? No, I'm sorry, that's shit. That's just shit. It's just like they've culled all the good stuff that really got the game immersive, and what they've done is they've piled on into districts, so you're building all over the place, really. You're not really building around the core with everything. There's no roads either. You just, oh, there's some coal, I'll just build that on the coal. Oh, there's some prefabs, I'll just build that extraction there. Oh, there's some food, I'll build a food district there. So you have all these things, but you never see the people unless you zoom right in. Then you'll see tiny little dots that are people but you can't really play the game at that level of zoom. So essentially you're looking at a still picture with a few lights that move for the whole game. That's what you're looking at. It's like a lifeless place of districts with different coloured lights on. That's all you see when you're playing this game for hours and hours, and I couldn't get immersed in it. And they've gone heavily into politics now with the factions, and they have like a House of Commons where in England where you have the House of Commons, all the MPs go in and they all have to vote on your policies that you put forward. So you might want a policy that you really need for the way you're building, and you look at how the voting would go for that, and it would say, well, most people are undecided. So you then have to bribe one of the factions. You go and look at the factions and you decide, I'm going to bribe you, and they'll say, well, we'll vote for you if you implement this law here. So it's all just like, you do me a favour, I'll do you a favour kind of thing. So you might not want to do that, so you go to another faction and then you see what they've got to offer. But if you help them, you're going to piss off another faction. And each faction has different ways of doing things. So for example, coal mining, which is one of the early ones, one faction may offer a way better way of getting coal than the other, so you don't want to piss that faction off because you'll want to get that later on. So it's all politics now. It's massively juggling politics. What you're doing in this game now is you are literally just managing civilians and with politicians and underhand kind of dealings. You do go off map, so to speak, like you did in the first one, where you get cores, you find cores. It's like expeditions, if you like, where you send people out. You'll find resources, you'll find more people, you might find an everlasting supply of oil that'll keep your city going in heat. There's lots of things that you can find out there, so it's essential that you do that. And you do that through researching things, expanding what you can build with your buildings, and doing lots of underhand politics. And I didn't like the politics. I really didn't like the politics. I found it just boring. A very boring way of doing things. Now, the first game had politics in. Obviously, it did. It had the tech trees in as well. But the first game had soul, and this game has no soul. It's like, if this game had come out first, let's say there wasn't a Frostpunk 1, if this was Frostpunk, then yes, excellent, love it, really, really good. But it didn't. This is after Frostpunk. And I'm sorry, but Frostpunk is a way better game, in my opinion, than this. This is a good game, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Frostpunk 2 is a bad game. It's not. It's just not the game that I was wanting. That's the problem with it. It's like a bigger version of Frostpunk, but without the heart and soul. And that's not what I was expecting, and certainly not what I wanted. And that's why I just can't get into it. If you really loved Frostpunk 1 for everything that it was, you're going to be disappointed with this.